is an issue with this camera angle. The very first objective in the game is to look out the window. The window is behind us. It's almost like we're trying to teach you how to move the camera.
I'm playing Roblox Doors Tower Hero. Oh, update. Let's try. Loading up. Are you? Hello? My man. Hello. 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 Can I just... So we're not playing that game. Let's play something else. Let's play. So let's play. The Grimace Story on Roblox. Come on. Let's just create a private server. If it costs so, it does cost Robux. Let's join the server, and it's still gonna not load.
Go away by itself.
So,
I always recommend Sentinine. It works.
Five Nights at Freddy's is filled with hoaxes, and I bet you don't.
So we're reacting to the most forgotten FNAF hoaxes ever. Let's jump in the ride with this guy.
Know most of them. I mean, you probably know the common ones, like Sparky the Dog, Toy Golden Freddy, the Purple Guy Animatronic, Red Trap, and Phantom Bonnie, and probably a bunch more. But instead of me talking about the well-known ones, we're going to be talking about the ones that you guys probably don't know about. We're going to be talking about the ones that fell into obscurity and were overall forgotten due to time. So maybe you OG fans will remember these fake Five Nights at Freddy's hoaxes, but I can't blame you if you don't remember. These hoaxes are very forgotten and aren't nearly as known as the popular ones. And we're not going to just be talking about hoax animatronics in this video. We're going to be talking about every single hoax in Five Nights at Freddy's that has been forgotten. And some of those hoaxes are hidden gameplay mechanics that never existed, creepy secrets and Easter eggs, and etc. that were never in the game. But we're also going to be talking about way more than just that. As the game started to become more popular and as more games released, the hoaxes started to die down, I'd say after the 4th game. So we're only going to be talking about hoaxes from the first couple of Five Nights at Freddy's games. But before we talk about the most forgotten hoaxes, we got to talk about some of the popular and which ones aren't. And while all these ones are extremely popular, you should know about these ones. The most popular Five Nights at Freddy's hoax was probably Sparky the Dog, and that was probably one of the first ones too. I believe Sparky the Dog when I was younger, and I actually remember playing the game non-stop for hours at a time to try and find this hidden character. And little did I know, it never existed. Over time, these characters and hoaxes started to become more and more prevalent through the games. For an example, in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, this game had the most hoaxes out of any other in the series. And as mentioned earlier, some of those included the Purple Guy Animatronic, Shadow Balloon Boy, and so
like Shadow, like this. Oh, and there's Purple
much more. And then there was also a bunch of hidden features that were supposedly in the game that were also hoaxes. But we'll get into those in a little bit here, so hold your horses. And then also, as I said earlier, the hoaxes started to die down after the 3rd game. There was a couple for Five Nights at Freddy's 4 and even FNAF World, but after that, they kind of didn't exist anymore. But even after the hoaxes stopped, after the first couple of games, the impact that they left behind was insane. A bunch of fans grew up on these hoaxes and did believe them for a certain amount of time before they were proven to be fake, and made the games scarier than they were. For example, example, if you were playing FNAF 2 and you thought the purple guy animatronic was real, you would be fearing to not see that animatronic because of how terrifying it was, especially if you were a younger child like me. These hoaxes helped shape the games into what they were, and helped add a very mysterious element to these games and to the franchise in total. Now don't get me wrong, some of these hoaxes were very bad, like the Chrome Freddy one in FNAF 3, if you guys remember that. But a lot of these hoaxes helped shape the game to be what it is today. And even though they're not very prevalent, and most of these hoaxes are forgotten now, I would say they have a very big part in the history of Five Nights at Freddy's and the whole franchise. And I'm sure some of you guys can agree with me. But that's why we're going to be talking about some of the most forgotten hoaxes that, well, you guys probably heard about a very long time ago. But who knows, maybe you'll learn about a new one or two in this video. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe if you love Five Nights at Freddy's. And with that recap out of the way, let's get right into these hoaxes. 666 kitchen camera. Now this urban legend slash hoax is about what would happen if you type 666 in the custom night menu of Five Nights at Freddy's 1. People speculated that if you typed 666 and left Foxy at 0, or vice versa and left Freddy at 0, you would be able to start the night and see the kitchen camera. Now, as we all know, the kitchen camera in FNAF 1 is blocked off and you can only hear audio. Now, the reason this hoax is so forgotten is because after a bunch of tests and, well, ever since the 1987 Easter egg with Golden Freddy, people realized that it just doesn't work. It's a very easy thing to check out. You type 666 in and guess what? It doesn't work. And since the 1987 Easter egg was more popular, it kind of took the popularity away from this one and made it die very quickly. The cupcake can blink on rare occasions. This one's exactly what it says it is. People claim that they saw the cupcake blink on rare occasions after closing or after opening the camera, or even while idling in the office. Now, there isn't an animation or anything for the cupcake in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, but this is a very creepy and disturbing hoax, as people thought the cupcake had some sort of secret significance hidden behind it, even though it was just there for decoration. And I'm surprised this hoax didn't get that popular because this is kind of disturbing. The Bite of 87 cutscene. Now, before Scott put the Easter egg in, where if you put 1987 in the custom night, you'll get the jump scare, people originally thought that if you put that same code in, that you would get a cutscene of the Bite of 87.
Was that the Bite of 87? Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now, obviously, this one wasn't true either, and that's another reason why Scott made the Golden Freddy Easter egg for this code. But don't worry, this isn't the last hoax that is related to a Bite of 87 cutscene, because for some strange reason, the fans for Five Nights at Freddy's were very adamant at there being a Bite of 87 cutscene. I don't know why.
But of course, it's Golden Freddy. And which is kind of ironic since Golden Freddy is just a rotting, broken Fredbear left in the back room. And he was the one who caused the Bite of 83, not the Bite of 87. But, yeah, that's pretty ironic. And let's get back to the video.
But apparently they just really wanted a cutscene for it. Now, Five Nights at Freddy's has a bunch of very forgotten hoaxes and a bunch of hoaxes that were in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, but most of them are very well known, and it was very difficult for me to find some very obscure ones like these three that I just mentioned. But as I mentioned, the Bite of 87 hoax actually transferred over to FNAF 2. And I know, you might be asking, what do you mean by that? Well, I'll tell you here in a second. So let's start talking about FNAF 2, because this is where the hoaxes really started to come in. And even though there's a bunch of popular ones, there's also a bunch of forgotten ones. And for the people that don't know, FNAF 2 is one of my favorite FNAF games, if not my most favorite. And now that I look back at it, I think the main reason I like this game so much is because of all the hoaxes that were involved with it. I don't know, it just made the game feel more mysterious and more creepy, especially to a younger me. Jesus, I think I was like, what, 10, 11 years old? But I'll tell you, 10-year-old me was terrified of these. But anyways, let's get into the FNAF 2 hoaxes. The Bite of 87 cutscene. Now, this hoax doesn't have a lot of information regarding it, but people said that if you did a secret Easter egg in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, you would be able to see who caused the Bite of 87. People speculated that there was some weird Easter egg, or if you completed the 1020 mode in FNAF 2, that the cutscene would begin to play. It would play in the same format that you would play as the minigames, and you would control your 8-bit character and see what happened. This one is also kind of an urban legend because no one knows where it originated from or how it became popular. And while obviously it didn't become that popular because there's not a bunch of information on it, I still would say that it's pretty prevalent when FNAF 2 released, even though I've never heard of it. Puppet TV screens and possessed plushies. Now, I put both of these entries in the same thing because these are interchangeable. It was said that if you got all the plushies in the mobile version of FNAF 2 and booted up a game, the eyes on the plushies would be possessed. And while obviously that isn't true because that just doesn't happen, a very infamous picture leaked online of it happening. As you can see in this picture, the eyes are blacked out with the white dots, and you can see the marionette or puppet on the TV screens behind them. And that brings me into the puppet screens part of this hoax. People also mentioned sometimes the puppet would appear on the TV screen or in static, kind of like how the puppet flashes in the one camera. There's not much information on these hoaxes, but it was pretty popular when the FNAF 2 mobile version released, because
The puppet also flashes in the FNAF 3 camera, but you can only see it for a second and then it plays like the puppet on the screen. He's just looking at you. And you can't look away from it. It's always looking at you.
I remember seeing this picture float around the internet for quite some time, and then eventually die out. Endo 2 and BB can kill you in FNAF 2. Now this one's very self-explanatory as well. The hoax states that on rare occasions, if you saw these animatronics, that there was a slight chance that they could actually jump scare you and kill you. For example, if you saw Endo 2 in the vent next to you, on rare occasion, once you would close your monitor, he would jump scare you. And same with Balloon Boy. On rare occasions, people said that they saw or got jump scared by Balloon Boy. Now obviously, none of these are true, but when the game first came out, people said that this was happening to them, and people did believe this to be true. Toy Chica taking the paper pal off the wall. Now, this one's also very self-explanatory. People say that on rare occasion, you could see Toy Chica taking the paper pal off the wall and having it being placed in your office after. So supposedly there was a very rare camera sighting where you can see her doing so. And then after you would close the monitor, the paper pal would be in your office. Now, obviously this isn't true as well, but this was a very popular hoax when it first came out. Shadow Prize Corner Cat. This one is very reminiscent of the Sparky the Dog hoax from FNAF 1. People claim that you could see a cat-like animatronic silhouette hidden behind the puppet's box in FNAF 2. The hoax image is on screen right now, and it was very believable at the time, and some people actually started to speculate that it was some sort of cat or foxy-like animatronic. And you might actually remember this one because people debated on if it was a cat or a foxy-like animatronic, but it was none of them, as this picture isn't real. Gray Puppet. Now this one's kind of popular, but maybe some people forgot this one.
Wait,
but I feel like
what
this one
was
was
the
pretty popular
image?
at the time. I don't know how this one would have debated on if it was a cat or a foxy-like animatronic, but it was none of them, as this picture isn't real. Gray Puppet.
Yeah.
Now this one's kind of popular, but this image is on screen
Sorry
right now, and it was very believable at the time, and some people actually started to speculate that it was some sort of cat or foxy-like animatronic. And you might actually remember this one because people debated on if it was a cat or a foxy-like animatronic, but it was none of them.
Where is the fox? I found it. It's right.
As this picture isn't real. Gray Puppet. Now this one's kind of popular, but maybe some people forgot this one, but I feel like this one was pretty popular at the time. I don't know how this one would have been triggered, but there is a video online showing the Gray Puppet, and in the video you can hear the 8-bit sound from the FNAF minigame saying save them. Then after that audio would play, the puppet would jump scare you, but it wouldn't be the normal puppet. The puppet would actually be gray as it jump scared you. As I said, I'm pretty sure this one's fairly popular, but the video online on YouTube of this hoax doesn't have that many views on it, so maybe not. I really don't know. Now I'm sure FNAF 2 had a bunch of more forgotten hoaxes that I couldn't find online anywhere. But as I said, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was where the peak of these hoaxes started to come out. Everyone was making their own theories, hoaxes, videos, and etc. about these fake animatronics and features in the game. And a bunch of them got super popular. And even if they're not popular now, they were super popular during the time of the game being released. But out of all the Five Nights at Freddy's games, this is the one that had the most hoaxes ever. But we don't just stop there. FNAF 3 had a bunch of strange and pretty interesting hoaxes that you guys probably never heard of either. As I never heard of these, I'm sure a bunch of you guys haven't either. So let's get right into it. Salvage/Fred Trap. I'm going to do a quick plug right now, but
So the origin of this is like people trying to mirror the prestigious program, and then they thought it was gonna be a Fredbear game.
actually made a full video on this FNAF hoax. Here it is right here on screen. If you guys are interested, you guys can check it out after. It's a very good video, and I believe it's actually very well informative for this topic. But I'll give you a quick synopsis on what this hoax is. Salvage/Fred Trap, as it's called, is a hoax where people thought that Springtrap was a completely different animatronic. And that's all I'm gonna say. You guys have to go check out my other video because I go in more depth and, more detail about this animatronic. New Freddy. Now this one's actually pretty popular. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this teaser image on screen right now before. And if you haven't, well, be kind of shocked. But this teaser image circulated around the internet for a long time before FNAF 3 got released. This fan render of Freddy was used in a bunch of fan artwork for Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Or well, fake teasers for Five Nights at Freddy's 3. And this piece of artwork was stolen from multiple times to be used in these fake FNAF 3 teasers. Hence why it's probably so popular. But who knows, maybe some of you guys don't remember this. Five Nights at Freddy's Free Roam. There was a leaked image online of a picture that showed what it looked like to be free roam for FNAF 3. It wasn't real, but this image on screen was very believable people at the time, and people thought that this was a real picture of FNAF 3, as the fans really wanted a free roam game at the time. Now, there was a bunch of hoaxes for FNAF 3, especially when it came to teasers, but I feel like this image got kind of lost in the internet and just was forgotten about. But, oh well. Bonnie in FNAF 3. Now, we all know that Bonnie never appeared in FNAF 3, but on one of the cameras, you can see an arcade machine that is themed as Bonnie. A bunch of people speculated that the body wasn't a decal on the arcade machine, but it was a real animatronic that would move on the later nights. And since Bonnie's the only character missing in FNAF 3, people thought that it wasn't a phantom animatronic and was actually a real animatronic like Springtrap was. But I've never even heard of this hoax. When I played the game, I could obviously tell that it was a decal on the arcade machine and not a real animatronic. But I guess some people believed it when the game first came out because they just really wanted Bonnie in the game. I don't really know. Custom Night in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. People claim that you could get a custom night for FNAF 3 if you didn't die throughout your playthrough of the game. Now, in my personal opinion, I think that's probably one of the hardest FNAF games for me. I was never able to actually beat it. Maybe I should go back and try that. But I just don't think, especially when the game first came out, there's no possible way for people to accomplish that. Because at least for me, there's no way I could play the game without dying at least once. So I can understand how some people thought this was real when the game first came out. Now, that's all of the most forgotten hoaxes I could find for FNAF 3, but don't worry, there is more forgotten hoaxes that I just haven't mentioned yet. There is some for FNAF 4, but they've all been debunked immediately. Like, for example, there was a hoax about the box being able to be opened in the game, and then there was a couple for FNAF World and even Sister Location. But they are so forgotten that I can't really find anything about them. But I do remember there being at least one for Sister Location, or maybe one for FNAF World, but I could also be wrong. Because as I said, after the first couple of games, they did start to die down. Because people weren't believing them anymore, and I can't blame them. It's kinda hard to make hoaxes after the first couple of hoaxes were made because you just instantly know that they aren't real. I'm definitely sure that there's some I forgot about. So don't be upset if I forgot one of your favorite hoaxes. Comment it down below because if this video does good, I might make a part 2. But don't worry, you can get more FNAF hoax videos just like this. So stick around to the end and I'll tell you how. So if I did forget one of your favorite hoaxes that have been forgotten due to time, don't worry. I think a bunch of people forgot about these hoaxes in the first place. Because as I said, I don't remember any of these and it seems like a
So that's what the video is. The FNAF most forgotten hoaxes is. There was a pretty good video, but there was fine, but not also at the million-star level. It was a bit like warm of a video, but shout out to Gavin Gone Witcher. Shout out to Gavin Gone Witcher. And hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be back soon.